Well, police have turned up the heat on the Health Services Union, raiding its New South Wales headquarters, just as a senior official was allegedly attempting to remove potential evidence. The raid comes after Julia Gillard moved to distance the government from corruption allegations at the weekend by ejecting MP and former HSU official Craig Thompson from the Labor Party. And while much of the focus tonight is on the HSU chief, Michael Williamson, officials insist Craig Thompson's activities are part of the police investigation that triggered today's raid. Political correspondent Tom Eagleton reports from Canberra.
The morning raid on Health Services Union East Branch headquarters in central Sydney quite literally netted a truckload of potential evidence. But police say they didn't get everything at first.
I have major concerns, however, that efforts have been made to interfere with information relevant to our investigation. I don't dismiss the possibility of criminal charges arising from those efforts.
Those efforts are understood to have allegedly been made by Michael Williamson, a former Labor Party president and the branch's boss, who was allegedly discovered outside branch headquarters in possession of a bag of documents.
I think it's game over for him if that is the case, and he needs to resign immediately.
The raid also puts the heat on a former HSU official, MP Craig Thompson, who Julia Gillard exiled from the Labor Party last weekend.
This police raid today has nothing to do with me. This raid has nothing to do with me. This raid today has nothing to do with me.
Mr Thompson says that's because he hasn't belonged to the union for 5 years and has had no formal relationship with the New South Wales branch for a decade.
Well, that's just Craig Thompson being in fantasy land. The investigation goes back beyond the formation of HSU, so to the former state register organisation, which Craig Thompson was a part of.
I know that Cathy Jackson made some comments in relation to me. Can I suggest that Ms Jackson needs to concentrate on the alleged criminal activity that's been reported about her in Victoria?
Sydney police confirm their investigation does cover the period when Mr Thompson was active in the New South Wales branch.
This investigation goes back to a period of time from around the mid-90s.
And Superintendent Dyson revealed police have been handed a copy of the secret Fair Work Australia report that directly investigated Mr Thompson's activities at the union.
I've seen the report. The allegations are centred from a different perspective than criminal allegations.
But it was very good to hear today that the New South Wales Police both have a copy of it and made it clear that there were no criminal issues in relation to myself.
But another MP is tonight facing formal criminal investigations. Federal police have announced they're proceeding with a fraud inquiry into suspended Speaker Peter Slipper. A spokesman for Mr Slipper's former staffer, who's made separate civil claims of sexual harassment, says, "We can confirm that Mr Ashby has been formally interviewed as a witness by the AFP as part of their criminal investigation." Mr Slipper denies the allegations, and the government's continuing to suggest that Mr Ashby's moves against his old boss are politically motivated.
There's no doubt that there is a cover-up going on. You have Mr Abbott saying he had no specific knowledge. It is not a coincidence that Mr Pyne used exactly the same phraseology.
Christopher Pyne's come under government fire over several contacts he had with Mr Ashby about a month before he made the allegations.
Mr Pyne changes his story on a daily basis.
But Mr Pyne's told Lateline, if the Labor Party has any evidence that I was aware of the federal court action involving the Speaker before the story broke in the press, they should release it. But even with the opposition sounding defensive, it's still winning the wider battle, focusing on leadership rumblings in the ALP over Julia Gillard's handling of the Slipper affair.
They have all completely lost faith in this Prime Minister because her judgment has been shown again and again and again to be dead wrong.
And there was this advice for the Prime Minister from mining magnate Andrew Forrest.
Don't step down, it's bad policy unless you've got a good deputy.
Deputy Prime Minister and Treasurer Wayne Swan's been in a months-long slanging match with Mr Forrest, who's encouraging fellow billionaire Clive Palmer's bid to run in Mr Swan's seat at the next election.
I'd be surprised if Mr Swan contests that seat because I think a three-legged dog could beat him to it.
A challenge that's sure to draw another response from the Treasurer. Tom Eagleton, Lateline.